Well, hi, hey, hello. Welcome back to Vintage to Sowing Time, where we reap what we sow. And now we are in 2022. The last time when we were together, uh, we were just ending off 2021. We have not been together for this year. Today is the 8th day of January. The first Saturday, I would say, I know that the year started on Saturday, but for all intents and purposes, because of, this being the ending of the first week, I would say it's the first Saturday in 2022. The weather is quite overcast. It's a cool morning. It is time for some comfort food. So I'm in my kitchen about ready to make some egg casserole. So I'm inviting you to come along to see how I do that. I hope that you have been fine. I hope that your family has been fine. So I'm encouraging all of us to just do the best that we can do to stay safe with all that's going on out there, and ultimately to stay focused in God and in prayer. Right? Yes. All right. So for my egg casserole today, I've made egg casserole with different types of the potatoes. All right, so today I'm choosing to use the orange sweet potatoes as one of my main ingredients. We are also, and this is about 4 cups. So 4 cups of sweet potatoes. I have done my casserole already with the Irish potato, the white potatoes, and it came out real nice. I have here a whole onion, and the reason why I'm using a whole onion is because I'm going to saute it. I know other people, when they make their casserole, they do not saute their onions, and most people would use about a half. But I love onions, and because I'm going to saute it, then I'm going to use a whole one. I have a cup of red bell pepper. I have chosen to use red bell pepper so I can have more of a pop of colors, and I have about 2 cups of hams. You remember that I had some family members who did not show up to the luncheon because of circumstances beyond their control. That resulted in leftovers from the ham, so I'm trying to use it up as much as I can. I think at some point I'll still have to freeze some of them, and use them, through the rest of the year rather than trying to use up all now. But today we're using about 2 cups of that ham. We have a dozen eggs. We need 1 dozen eggs, and that's based on the size of your casserole. Today I'm making, I believe this is a 9 by 13 container. So the 12 dozen eggs would fit nicely in with the other ingredients. So again, based on your size, then you would cut your ingredients. But for a 9 by 13 baking pan, this is the ideal amount of ingredients that we would use to get a nice size egg casserole. So what is the first thing that we're going to do? The first thing that we're going to do is put our potatoes and our ham to bake a bit. We're going to put in the potatoes first because that would take a while. Those would take about 30 minutes to bake. And about 10 minutes after they're in the oven, we're going to put in our ham, because our ham would need just about 20 minutes just so that it can be nice and toasty, which would also add some flavor to our casserole. All right, so let's begin by putting our potatoes to bake in a single layer so that they can bake quickly. And it's a good idea to have your oven preheated at 400 degrees while you're doing all of these preparations, so that as soon as you're through, you can just start putting things in your oven. So in goes our sweet potato. and we will set our timer for 30 minutes. 30 minutes it is. Alright, so while our sweet potatoes are baking, let's go ahead and start sauteing our onions. And I've added just a little bit of crisco to my butter. And I find that this recipe is a very simple one. Very, very, very simple. There's nothing complicated about an egg casserole. I know that it may sound as if it has a big name, but that's all that it is. It's really simple. Very, very, very simple. Right? Start with the onions. And bring them to a nice light brown. Right? And while that is going on, you notice this concoction in the back and you're wondering what this is all about. Well, this is me in the process of making some cheddar cheese. And right now I have the curds being pressed to get as much whey out of them, because the whey is what will cause it to spoil if you have too much in the curd. So you have to squeeze out as much as you can. So right now I have about a 50-pound weight, which is, just common weight. Some people may get, the actual, lift that you use, for strength. But I have improvised with some cuts of granites that are leftovers from the counter. And I have here about 50 pounds. I've weighed them, so about 50 pounds I have here. The cheese is all the way down to the bottom here. Okay, this is just a cheesecloth that I have, but right down to the bottom is where the cheese is. So everything here is just sitting on that to squeeze out as much whey out of the curds, as I said. All right, we're back to our onions to make sure that they don't burn. We have about 5 minutes or so before we put in the ham to toast a bit. And putting in the ham to toast is really optional. You don't have to do that. You can add your ham to your mixture without toasting them or without browning them a little bit. That is totally up to you. It's my preference. So if you don't feel like doing that, you can eliminate that. I'm just thinking that the gas is already being used. The oven is already lit. So just another item in one of the chambers, won't hurt a bit. Apart from that, it's really not a must. Let's go ahead now and get our ham in the oven. This is our 2 cups of mince. Well, I won't say mince, but more like cubed ham. Time for us to bring our ingredients together. The ham is prepared and the sweet potato is also ready. We have our 12 dozens of egg in this bowl. We are going to beat these eggs in a way not to make them too light. We're not looking for them to be light and fluffy. We just need to mix them together. All right, that's about it. In our grease baking pan, we are now going to assemble all of our ingredients. We can go ahead and put in our sweet peppers, our onion, which is already sauteed to a light brown. Nice, crisp and nice. Some folks would choose to use the bacon in the place of the ham. I'm only using the ham because that's what I have on hand. So it makes more sense to use that than to add an expense of bacon, which I don't have. If I had them, I would use that, but I don't. So I'm using what I have. Okay, to the eggs, there's some folks who add milk to the eggs. So if you're one of them who want your casserole to be, really rich, and you can add milk to your eggs, but that's enough dairy. The egg is enough dairy as far as I'm concerned. We have about 2 cups of cheddar cheese, and this is my own homemade cheddar cheese. I'm going to take about 1 cup and put it in the eggs, right? And we're going to use the other cup as a topping, right? So we can just mix that into the eggs also. And now we're going to season these ingredients. We have a black pepper. We're going to sprinkle that. Maybe a couple of teaspoons. We have dill wheat. I love dill wheat in everything. We're going to use maybe about a teaspoon of that. About a teaspoon and a half of that. And it all depends on, how highly flavored or seasoned you want to have your casserole. I'm going to use some ground thyme. Maybe a teaspoon of that also. Some white pepper. I'm not a fan of pepper, so I'm going to do just about a 1/4 teaspoon of this. And then we have some red pepper to add, and some red pepper. Dust of that one. And you can toss these together again to make sure, that the spice are well distributed. And all we have to do now is just add our eggs to all of this, which we will do now. Our egg with the cheese. All that we're going to just do is add that. Incorporate all of that. Very, very, very simple. I told you it was a simple recipe, nothing to it. Nothing to it. Let's get this out of the way. We take about a cup of cheese and just sprinkle it to the top. If you were using bacon, then some folks would take the bacon and just, some of the bacons and sprinkle it on top just for the sake of, presentation. Wow, that looks lovely and it smells great. And we're just going to put this in the oven to bake for 30 minutes. Just that. When it's 30 minutes, it'll be all over. All right, and we've popped that in the oven for 30 minutes at 40 degrees. Let's set our timer. And what I would do at about 20 to 25 minutes, I would check it to see if it is finished. Make sure the center is not runny. Make sure it is dry and nice. And if at 20 minutes that is the case, then I would turn it off. But the maximum would be about 30 minutes. So see you in 25 to 30 minutes. All right. Wow, we've done it. Our casserole is ready. So let's do a test. We're gonna first slice it. I love the feel of it. This is what it looks like. There we go. Let's let me taste this. It's hot. Wow. This is good. Very, very tasty. And someone would ask about the salt. Why didn't I put salt, like for example, in the egg? But keep in mind that we're using ham, and the ham is very salty, along with the cheese. The cheese is also very salty. So it's just perfect the way that it is without any added salt. This is really delicious, very delicious. You should try it. It's a full meal because you remember we have the sweet potatoes included. We have the meat. We also have the egg. It is indeed a full meal. You do not need to serve this with anything much more than maybe some slices of fruits for your breakfast. All right, well, thank you so much for being with me for this another episode of Vintage to Sewing Time, where you reap what you sow. Until my next episode, bye-bye.